Maya, hey,
Hi.
hi. Congratulations for She Paradise.
Thank you.
It was quite entertaining, with the drama and the dance and everything else in your film. So let's start with that easy question. Where did the original idea came from when you wrote She Paradise?
So I co-wrote She Paradise with Melina Brown, and we both graduated from film school around the same time in New York. And the idea really stemmed from conversations we were having about, representation and wanting to tell stories set in the Caribbean, but also tell stories from, the point of view of women and women of color from that region. So I think it started off as a very loose idea. It didn't start from a place of plot. And we then began the process of, developing the characters and fleshing out the world. And we wrote a screenplay for it, over the course of a year.
Now, you started this project with the short film. Was that sort of like a pitch concept that you created?
Yeah, so we wrote this screenplay first, and we had to figure out how we were going to get it made and get people excited by the idea. I also think because it's a film that hasn't really been seen before, there aren't really a lot of references you could pitch it with and say, oh, it's going to look like this or be like this. So it really was important that I shoot a short to communicate the world and the feeling, which I think is, for the most part, kind of undocumented. And so the short was made with the intention of getting people excited about the screenplay that already existed. Yeah.
Wow, most excellent. So the full screenplay was already written, and the short was was sort of maybe just like an introduction to the film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, tell us about this coming of age story. What do young women face in the Caribbean or like Trinidad? When do they have like these types of hopes and dreams, or is this very specific just for a character like this?
That's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of young women, universally have hopes and dreams of being seen, and various hopes of dreams of ascension. And, it's especially the entertainment industry is rife with people in positions of power who want to exploit those hopes and those aspirations. And so it really is a universal story. And I think, some of the cultural specificity of the circumstances, valid, but I do think that it's a story that's just relevant to that industry globally. Yeah.
Great. Now, tell us about the coordination of your dance choreography on a film like this. How did you develop that?
So I worked with a choreographer called Shauna Mitchell, who was actually in the same dance group as myself growing up. She pulls a lot of different influences. So the choreography is very eclectic in that it pulls from traditional African dance styles like folk and limbo, which is very unique to the Caribbean. And it also pulls from dancehall and hip hop. And so she created a lot of routines that are very kind of eclectic and unique in that way. But she's, one of those dancers who've just dedicated a lot to it. And so she's done a lot of choreography for some of our biggest soca stars like Nyla Blackman and Ola Tunji. And it was just really fun collaborating with her on it. I gave her a lot of freedom. And then, my process as a director was to sort of just attend those rehearsals and look at the movement and find a way to film it and embrace it. And I always make a joke, like my cinematographer, he's from Tulsa, you know, so I had to always tell him, like, this is not ballet, like we have to kind of get into the movement and the energy and the heat of it. And so like that whole process of like watching the rehearsals, working with the choreographer and the DP, like all came together to create those dance scenes that progress along through the film.
So you are a former dancer yourself, so you could totally relate to this character for the movie.
I used to dance as a teenager. I was a part of an all-girl dance group called Blackout that was on television every week for this imitation of America's Best Dance Crew. And I feel like this sisterhood around, you know, going to performances and being on and off stage was just so informative for my coming of age years. So I think a lot of those experiences and observations and even those friendships were influential in developing the story.
So you also, because of those experiences, you also seen the negative, the dark side of this industry too. That's why you put it into the film.
I think it wasn't like necessarily me saying I want to put anything into the film, you know, with such intention. I think, you know, Melina and I, like, we're telling a real story. And, you know, the story is one that really, it happens. And I think we didn't want to shy away from darker moments, and we also didn't want a fairy tale ending either. And we didn't even strive to make a moral tale. I think it's just, you know, it just comes from a place of wanting to explore like the nuances, especially between the women, between the sisterhood, and to tell a story and to present it and have viewers take from it what they want. But it wasn't made in a way where we set out with intention to teach, you know, anybody anything. And I think that there's something kind of unique about that approach, because so many conversations do come up about it, where people say, you know, I've experienced this and this, you know, relates to me, or I would have done this and I would not have. And I think that's all just part of, you know, part of conversations that are necessary.
Just out of curiosity, during the rehearsals, since you were a former dancer, did you try to participate and move with the energy with everyone else?
What do you mean?
just to relive memories and dance along with them.
Oh, while we were shooting?
Yeah.
I didn't. I think I would have if I wasn't juggling so many things trying to get this film made. I mean, it was made, you know, it's a micro budget film, and the Caribbean doesn't really have a thriving film industry, and we didn't have a lot of resources. So getting it done with, you know, a small crew and making things happen, I felt like I was constantly juggling so many things that maybe if we had more, you know, more resources, more time, more access, I would have been able to enjoy it a bit more and get in on the dancing myself. But that didn't happen. I was always in like think mode. Yeah.
Well, then let's move on to the music side of this film. Tell us how you gathered the music for your film here.
Yeah, so the music includes a lot of mostly soca, which has its origins in Trinidad, and it stems from calypso music. And we use some dancehall from Jamaica, so we have music from Shensia as well. And yeah, so it's mostly Caribbean. It is actually, all of it is Caribbean music. And we got a lot of musicians in Trinidad who, you know, got excited about the project and wanted to help and be involved. And I worked with a music supervisor, Zane Rodolfo, to decide, you know, on what songs would work throughout the film. And it was just a process of like, you know, it was, I feel like I learned a lot about, you know, the music industry, because we were working with such a smaller budget. So it wasn't like we could afford, you know, any song. So it was like figuring out like what songs worked and what we could access, you know. But the music was such a huge part of like creating the kind of oral landscape and the energy throughout the film.
So it was very meta that you created a music video production in your movie production. Did you pull that off because of limited resources, where like everyone else was also like cast and production at the same time running around?
Yeah. So a lot of the actual crew was on camera pretending to be the crew. But yeah, we shot a music video inside a music video. And yeah, it's kind of like exploring that self, you know, it's like this kind of self-reflection, you know, because it's like you know, we're filming, but we're also like exploring things that can happen behind the scenes, you know, when people film. And kind of going into the world where, you know, these women are looking at people film them and look at them, but we are also like looking at that through their point of view. And I think, it was it was kind of fun to film people pretending to film, because sometimes we had scenes where our grip would run on camera and you know, pretend that he was like the cameraman. So yeah, it was small, but you know, we made it happen.
Now, since you used to be a dancer yourself, because in the film they portrayed that they do their own makeup and you know, and costumes in your film, but tell us about the costumes and makeup that you actually did for the film.
So a lot of the wardrobe was made specifically for the film by our wardrobe stylist Shanda Lorignard, and she did our arts, you know, and she did sets, wardrobe. I mean, she did a lot, and she would go into, you know, Port of Spain, which is the city in Trinidad, to find fabrics, and she created some of the outfits specifically for the scenes. So there are a couple of scenes where the looks were created instead of sourced. One of the key ones is on the beach, where they all line up next to each other before they go into shooting the music video, and they have these like sparkly black cat suits on. So that was created for the film, and there are a few other looks. I think one of Diamond's looks, the colorful two-piece she has on, that was also created for the film. So the wardrobe aspect of it was really exciting, you know, just because of you know, especially like following the tradition of dance films from the Caribbean that have, you know, been made before, like Dancehall Queen, where it's so hard to focus on the plot. You're just distracted by all the dancehall outfits, you know. I think we had to acknowledge that tradition, and so we definitely put a lot of emphasis and effort into the wardrobe.
Most excellent. And this is your first feature film, which I believe you've done an excellent job. How was that experience in your opinion? How did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard, but I really I had so much fun shooting it, because it felt like, you know, it felt like a natural extension to my creative journey, especially having worked as a dancer before. And I felt so deeply connected to the women and to the actors. And it definitely felt like a family experience, you know, working with a small crew, working especially with the community. And I think one of the things that really kept me going was the excitement from the community around having a movie being made in their space. And I think also the excitement around being seen. That really felt fulfilling, you know.
Great. And since you got this project out of the way, could you tell me about the film industry in Trinidad? How is because it's not known, as a setting for a lot of film and movies. Is it like a difficult process, or do you find it very friendly and warming if you want to make films there?
Yeah, Trinidad is very a friendly and warm place to shoot a film. I think, you know, we always describe Latin America and the Caribbean as, the quote unquote underdeveloped world. So a lot of filmmakers are trying to use whatever resources they have to define their cinematic world and their voice, outside of any kind of studio structure that really doesn't exist, here. And I think it means a very sort of like different approach, a lot more of a risk-taking approach to getting films made. And I think because there's just so little representation and so few of our stories have been told, that communities, especially in Trinidad, want to be seen, and they want and I think it is a very welcoming place for film, because every space that we moved into, we did feel like this support and this energy, because of course there's no real thriving industry, on an island. So it's an exciting time, but it also, I think, means that there's just a lot of excitement about seeing things made.
Great. Well, let me wrap it up with you, Maya. By saying this, do you foresee more projects for yourself at Trinidad and elsewhere in the Caribbean, or you want to expand your roots internationally?
Yeah, I mean, I did approach my first film with a desire to tell stories in Trinidad, and the location mattered a lot. But I think I do think that I am very interested in the diaspora and the experience that steps out beyond Trinidad. And I have been considering stories set, in cities where there are huge conglomerates of Caribbean people and experiences. And so the diaspora is something that I'm also interested in exploring. But so I think just, the global sort of Caribbean diasporic experience is what I'm interested in. Yeah.
Most excellent. Well, Maya, hey, thank you very much for talking to us about Sheep Paradise. Everyone should check it out later on this month. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.